God, I will never fail in life.
Every day. The woman cleaning the toilets at the airport. The man packing groceries into your trunk. The old security guard standing for 12 hours a day with swollen ankles and a faded uniform. We look through them as if they are part of the furniture. We assume they are there because they failed. We assume they have nothing left to offer. But what if I told you that the man you just insulted owns the very ground you're standing on? What if the old man you just called a senile fool holds the keys to your entire future in his calloused, trembling hands? If you believe that every human being deserves respect regardless of the clothes they wear or the job they do, hit that like button right now. If you love stories where the arrogant are humbled and the righteous are restored, hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications. On this channel we tell the stories the world tries to hide. We tell the modern-day African folktales that remind us that the first shall be last and the last shall be first. Comment respect below if you've ever stood up for someone being bullied. Today's story isn't just about a job. It's about the poison of pride and the hidden power of humility. It's about Pa Elijah, a 68-year-old security guard who was forced to his knees in a lobby of glass and gold, made to scrub a floor with his own tie while the world watched and laughed. They thought they were breaking a poor old man. They didn't realize they were insulting a king in exile. Before we witnessed the moment the sky over Atlanta turned black with the rotors of a dozen helicopters, before we see the moment a billionaire's empire turned into a house of cards, I need you to do something for the invisible people of the world. Now let me take you to the top floor of the Sterling Plaza in Buckhead, where a young man's ego was about to meet a 40-year-old secret. Pa Elijah woke up at 3:45 a.m., just as he had every morning for 40 years. He didn't need an alarm clock. His body was a clock tuned to the rhythm of discipline. He lived in a tiny one-bedroom apartment in Buckhead. The wallpaper was peeling and the floorboards groaned under his weight, but the room was spotless. On his small wooden nightstand sat a photo of a woman in a traditional Ghanaian Kent cloth, her smile bright enough to light up the dark room. "Good morning, Serafina," he whispered, touching the frame. He then spent 20 minutes ironing his security uniform. He didn't just iron it, he pressed it until the creases on the trousers could cut paper. He polished his brass name tag, Elijah K. Mensa, until he could see his tired, dark eyes reflected in the metal. Pa Elijah drove a 2004 Toyota Camry with 300,000 miles on the odometer. The engine rattled like a box of nails and the heater didn't work, but it got him to Buckhead by 5 a.m. As he pulled into the parking deck of the Sterling Plaza, a 50-story monument of steel and blue glass, he was flanked by Porsches, Maseratis and Range Rovers. The young executives arriving for their early gym sessions didn't look at him. To them he was just a gate to be opened. A ghost in a polyester suit. Pa Elijah took his post at the main desk. He stood straight. His back ached. Souvenir from a youth spent in the military, but he never leaned. He greeted everyone. "Good morning, Miss Julia. Your daughter's recital is today, isn't it? Good luck." To her. "Morning, Mr. Henderson. I see you got the new tires. Stay safe in this rain." Most ignored him. Some gave a curt nod. Only the janitors and the delivery driver stopped to talk. They knew Elijah was different. He spoke with a refined, deep baritone. He carried himself with the quiet confidence of a man who had seen the world and wasn't impressed by it. At 8:30 a.m. the atmosphere in the lobby shifted. The air became thick with the scent of $500 cologne and nervous energy. Marcus Sterling had arrived. Marcus was 32, the youngest senior vice president in the history of Sterling Wealth Management. He was the son of the founder's brother, a man who had been handed a silver spoon and spent his life trying to turn it into a scepter. Marcus walked with a gait that suggested he owned the gravity of the room. He was wearing a custom-tailored charcoal suit that cost more than Elijah's car. Behind Marcus trailed 4 assistants, all of them frantic, holding tablets and coffee cups as if they were holy relics. "I don't care about the market volatility," Marcus snapped, his voice echoing off the Italian marble. If the Tokyo deal doesn't close by noon, I want heads on my desk. I want people crying in the hallways. Do you understand? As Marcus approached the security desk, Elijah offered a small, respectful bow. Good morning, Mr. Sterling. It's a beautiful morning to do great business. Marcus didn't stop. He didn't even blink. He just tossed his leather briefcase onto the marble counter, nearly hitting Elijah's hand. Sign me in, old man. And make it fast. I've got a board meeting. Elijah's hands, though steady, were slow as he navigated the new digital check-in system the company had installed last week. I'm trying, sir. The system is a bit sluggish this morning, Elijah said. Humbly. Marcus leaned over the desk, his face inches from Elijah's. Elijah could smell the expensive espresso and the sheer, unadulterated arrogance on the man's breath. The system isn't sluggish, Elijah. You are sluggish, Marcus hissed. You're a rogue. You are a 1980s man in a 2024 building. Why are you even here? Don't you have a porch to sit on? A grave to pick out? The assistants looked away, embarrassed but silent. Elijah didn't flinch. He looked Marcus directly in the eye, not with anger but with a strange, deep pity. Life is long, Mr. Sterling. And the world is very small. I work because I choose to. I stand here because I like to see who is coming up in the world. Marcus let out a sharp, jagged laugh. You like to see who is coming up? Good. Me then. Because I'm the one who decides if you get to keep this path. Elijah finished the check-in and handed Marcus his badge. Marcus snatched it, but as he turned, he knocked over a tall, steaming latte one of his assistants was holding. The cup shattered. The dark, sticky liquid exploded across the pristine white marble floor, splashing onto the hem of Marcus's custom trousers and his $3,000 hand-burnished Italian loafers. The lobby went dead silent. You could hear the hum of the air conditioning. You could hear the heartbeats of the interns. Marcus looked down at his shoes. His face turned a shade of purple that looked like a bruised plum. He looked at the floor, then he looked at the assistant, who was trembling so hard she nearly dropped her tablet. Then his eyes landed on Pa Elijah. You, Marcus whispered. It was a sound full of venom. I'll call the janitorial staff immediately, sir, Elijah said, reaching for his radio. Accidents happen. No, Marcus said, stepping into the puddle of coffee, intentionally grinding his heel into the marble. Don't call the janitors. This is your desk. This is your lobby. You were too slow with the check-in, which caused a bottleneck, which caused this mess. Marcus reached out and grabbed Elijah by the collar of his uniform, pulling the 68-year-old man toward him. Clean it, Marcus commanded. Elijah blinked. Sir. You heard me. Get down on your knees and clean it. Now. Mr. Sterling, I am a security officer. My job is the safety of this building. Not. Your job is whatever I say it is. Marcus screamed. Look at these shoes. These shoes cost more than your life insurance policy. Clean them. Use your hands. Use that pathetic little rag you used to polish your desk. Elijah stood his ground. I will not be humiliated, Marcus. I have served this country. I have raised children who are doctors and engineers. I will not get on my knees for coffee. Marcus's eyes narrowed. He reached down and snatched the clip-on tie from Elijah's neck. He threw it into the puddle of coffee. There, Marcus sneered. There's your rag. Now get on your knees and scrub. You don't. Not only are you fired, but I will make sure your pension is tied up in litigation for the next 10 years. I will tell the agency you assaulted me. It will ruin what's left of your miserable life. Elijah looked around the lobby. Dozens of people were watching. Some were recording on their phones. No one moved. No one spoke. The important people of Buckhead watched an old man be reduced to nothing. Slowly, painfully, Elijah's knees creaked as he lowered himself. The marble was cold. The coffee was hot. He reached out, picked up his own tie and began to wipe the liquid from the floor. Marcus stood over him, looking down like a colonial master. Better. Now get the spots off my shoes. And do it with a smile, old man. You're lucky I'm letting you finish the hour. Elijah cleaned the shoes. He didn't say a word. He didn't cry. He just worked. When he was finished, Marcus kicked Elijah's hand away and adjusted his suit jacket. You're fired, Elijah. Pack your things and be out of this building in 10 minutes. If I see your face on my cameras after 9 a.m., I'm calling the police. For trespassing. Marcus turned and walked toward the elevators, his entourage following him like a pack of hyenas. Elijah stayed on his knees for a moment. He picked up his ruined tie. He stood up slowly, his joints popping. He walked back to the security desk, took off his badge and placed it on the counter. He picked up his desk phone and dialed a number he had never used in the 5 years he had worked there. It was a direct line to a private hangar at DeKalb Peachtree Airport. This is Falcon 1, a voice answered. Elijah's voice was no longer that of a humble guard. It was cold. It was precise. It was the voice of a man who could move mountains. This is the chairman, Elijah said. Execute protocol, Phoenix. I want the board of directors at the Sterling Plaza in 60 minutes. I want the legal team. And tell the pilots to prep the fleet. I'm going to the roof. Understood, sir. Are we closing the deal? Elijah looked at the elevator where Marcus had disappeared. No, Elijah said. We're closing the building. Pa Elijah's about to transform, and Marcus has no idea that the old man he just bullied is the majority shareholder of the global conglomerate that is about to buy out Sterling Wealth Management in a hostile takeover. Pa Elijah walked away from the security desk for the last time. He didn't go to the parking deck. He didn't go to his old Toyota. Instead, he walked toward the service elevator, the one used for moving freight and garbage. He swiped a keycard that looked like any other, but when it touched the sensor, the elevator didn't just beep. It chimed a low harmonic tone. Inside the elevator, Elijah reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, encrypted key. He inserted it into a hidden slot beneath the floor buttons. The elevator didn't stop at the lobby or the offices. It bypassed every floor, heading straight for the penthouse level, a floor that didn't exist on the building's public directory. As the elevator rose, Elijah stripped off the polyester security jacket. He unbuttoned the coffee-stained shirt. Waiting for him in the hidden penthouse suite was a man named Arthur, a silver-haired valet who had been with Elijah's family for 30 years. A difficult morning, sir? Arthur asked, holding out a steaming towel. The coffee was bitter, Arthur. But the lesson was necessary, Elijah replied. In 10 minutes the transformation was complete. The old man was gone. In his place stood Elijah Kwesi Mensah II, the founder and majority shareholder of Gold Coast Global, the multi-billion-dollar conglomerate that secretly owned the land beneath half of Atlanta. He was now dressed in a $12,000 navy blue market. Meanwhile, on the 48th floor, Marcus Sterling was celebrating. He had poured himself a glass of 25-year-old scotch. He was laughing with his vice presidents about the senile old guard he had finally gotten rid of. You should have seen him, Marcus chuckled, gesturing with his glass. On his knees, scrubbing my shoes with his own tie. That's the problem with this country. We let these relics think they're human. You have to remind them of their place. His phone buzzed. It was his secretary, her voice sounding like she was watching a ghost. Mr. Sterling, you need to look out the window. Now. Marcus rolled his eyes. If it's the protesters again, call the police. It's not protesters, sir. It's the sky. Marcus walked to the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the Buckhead skyline. His heart skipped a beat. The horizon wasn't empty. Coming from the north, south, and east were black specks. They grew larger, the rhythmic thwump-thwump-thwump of rotors beginning to vibrate the very glass of the building. 1, 2, 4, 8, 12. 12 state-of-the-art Sikorsky helicopters, all bearing the gold lion emblem of Gold Coast Global, were descending on the building like a swarm of angry hornets. The building's rooftop helipad was only rated for 2 aircraft. But the pilots didn't care. For landed on the roof while the others hovered in a tight formation, their searchlights cutting through the gray morning mist, illuminating the Sterling Wealth Management logo like a target. Inside the boardroom, the emergency sirens began to wail. The building was under a mandatory lockdown. What is happening? Marcus screamed, his glass of scotch shattering on the floor. The second mess of the day. The heavy oak doors of the boardroom swung open. It wasn't the police. It was a phalanx of men in black tactical gear, followed by 6 lawyers in identical charcoal suits. And leading them was Arthur, the valet. Marcus Sterling, Arthur said with icy professionality. The board of directors. Gold Coast Global has arrived for the emergency audit. You are requested on the roof. Audit? Roof? Elijah reached out and straightened Marcus's tie. You failed the test, Marcus. Not because you were rude to a guard, but because you believe that money makes you more than human and poverty makes others less. You humiliated a man for a drop of coffee. You used your power to try and break a soul. Elijah turned to his lead counsel. The papers. The lawyer handed him a leather folder. Signed and notarized, sir. Takeover is complete. You now own 51% of the voting shares. Sterling Wealth Management no longer exists as an independent entity. Elijah looked back at Marcus. As of this moment, you are terminated. Not just from this building but from this industry. I have shared the recording of your behavior in the lobby with every major firm in the country. No one will hire a man who treats his staff like footstools. It's bad for business. It's bad for the soul. You can't do this. Marcus cried, his voice breaking. My family started this company. And you ended it, Elijah said. Elijah stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. By the way, Marcus, the $300 a month pension you threatened to take from me? I'm donating it to the janitorial fund of this building. Along with your salary for the next year. You'll find your personal items in a cardboard box on the sidewalk. I suggest you hurry, it's starting to rain. Elijah walked toward the largest helicopter. He stopped at the door and looked. But, oh, and Marcus? One more thing. Elijah reached into his pocket and pulled out the coffee-stained tie Marcus had. Forced him to use it as a rag. He tossed it at Marcus's feet. Keep it. You're going to need it when you start looking for a job as a janitor. Though I hear they have very high standards for character these days. Elijah climbed into the helicopter. The door slid shut. Within seconds, the fleet rose into the air, turning away from the building and disappearing into the clouds. Marcus Sterling stood alone on the roof of the building that no longer belonged to him. He looked down at the coffee-stained tie. He looked down at his $3,000 shoes now ruined by the wind and the rain. His legs finally buckled. He fell to his knees on the very spot where he had tried to play God. Marcus Sterling learned that day that the world is a giant wheel. The person you are stepping on today is the same person who might be holding the rope for you tomorrow. He thought he was looking down on a servant, never realizing he was looking up at his master. Pa Elijah didn't return to the security desk. He returned to his philanthropic work, building schools and clinics across the continent, but he kept that 2004 Toyota Camry. He kept it to remind himself that no matter how high you fly, your feet must always remember the dust of the earth. The lesson of this tale is simple. Your position in life is a coat you wear, not the skin you are in. Never judge a book by its cover, and never, ever mistake a man's silence for his lack of power. The humblest person in the room might just be the one who owns the building. If this story moved you, if you were happy to see Pa Elijah take his throne, do us a favor. Share this video with one person who needs a reminder to stay humble. Hit that like button to help the algorithm show this to more people. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to our channel. We have thousands of stories in our archive, each one a lesson, each one a journey. Because in the world of modern African folktales, justice might be delayed, but it is never denied. Thank you for watching. Remember to treat the janitor with the same respect as you. We'll see you in the next story. Stay humble. Stay blessed.